all other workers. And people used to find, what you talking about? Because even when Clotel got an award for her work in trade unionism, a national award, people were saying, why they give Clotel that award? What trade union? Because people couldn't see the vision. And today, after fighting, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but regionally and also internationally, we were able to win with other trade unions and NGOs. We were able to win a convention for domestic workers. That was history in the making. Now the provisions in the conventions, which we were a part of, Carla, the comrade Carla Walcott and myself, and we had another sister from Jamaica, who I was responsible for getting the both of them to that Geneva conference. We had to work hard. When Carla hear I going in conference, she always thinking, well, she must feel like going to Lyme. But when she come and she see work, it had a day she say, I can't make it today, no, either. I can't make it. Because we had what to go and negotiate. From morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes we remain at 10, 11 o'clock in the night. And you cannot move. Because you're negotiating and you're expecting any minute the employers will call for a vote to see whether or not we will get that convention. So we have to be there, you know. And we all of us, my sisters, from all over the Latin American countries, Africa, all over Asia, we make up the International Domestic Workers Network. And we work very hard in trying to gain protection for domestic workers. So it was a big thing there when we won this ILO convention. We stood up in the galleries of the ILO, and the ILO is a kind of conservative place. And we just threw down our banner, congratulations for Convention 189. And we started to make noise, because remember, it's grassroots people, you know. We don't care, we make a noise anywhere. So they had to run outside and say, oh, you hush all your mouth and this and that. So the director came out and he said, no, leave them, leave them. And everybody just toned down, and we were able to rejoice and sing songs from Africa and all over the world. We were singing. We were even hymning to the Latin America, singing the Spanish tunes. Cise Puedo and all this. I don't even understand what they're talking about, but it was great. I know it had to do something with victory. So the provisions in the conventions eventually, these provisions make the words decent work mean something, especially for living domestic workers. Because they often work with they have no stipulated hours of work. They're always on call, especially where they're hired to provide services such as childcare or care for the aged, the sick, or the disabled. These workers work round the clock. The baby get up, call the domestic worker. Something happened with the old man or the old woman in the house, call the domestic worker. And the ILO convention also makes provisions for on-call work, because we have workers right here in Trinidad who work on call, but they in more professional job. But what I want to say, this domestic work is a very professional job, you know, because I and all can't do it. This is a very hard work. My sister is a domestic worker, and sometimes when she come and I say, Paul, do the same, the way she will turn and she will capture the house in few minutes and do work, I can't do that. Because she used to take care of her old woman. And one day Pearl wasn't around, and the old woman who lived near to us calling, Ida Pearl, Ida Pearl. I went to see what happened to Miss Darden, an old neighbor lady in the neighborhood. When I reached by Miss Darden wanted to turn. And I could not turn Miss Darden. I hold Miss Darden all her, and I bigger than Pearl, I in size. Try to turn Miss Darden, I cannot turn Miss Darden. I call the neighbor, Miss Catherine. I say, come and help me with Miss Darden. Anybody I see in the road calling her, come and help me turn Miss Darden. Because Miss Darden bawling, she cannot lie down there again, she wants to turn. We could not do it. And when Paul come, she just make a flip, so flip and flip over and start him. So domestic work is a skill, and people don't want to recognize that. So we must recognize that this work that domestic workers doing is skill work, it's professional work, and it's not everybody could do it. But because we are women, they feel by nature you will be able to do that. But it's not so. And what we don't understand too, we have a lot of men who is domestic workers here in Trinidad because they work as gardeners in people's home. They work as chauffeur. And what the act says is that anybody who works in and around the house and paid by the householder is a domestic worker. So even when these men come to the union and seeking representation and all that, and I tell them, well, you're a domestic, they don't want to hear that. As a handyman, I say, yes, but under the law, you're a domestic worker. So you see, there's a kind of stigma with respect to domestic workers. Like if this work is so low, but yet the whole of society depending on this work. And domestic workers themselves must stand up and recognize and value what they are doing. Because when domestic workers come to us, and somebody call them, they want a domestic worker, because sometimes people call to us, they want to find out how much to pay a domestic worker, or even sometimes they might call and they want a domestic worker. Because what we have started to do now, we form a cooperative to offer these same skills to people. You know, you want a domestic, call the union, you get a domestic, yes, so that all the resources will remain into this cooperative to help domestic workers, to ensure domestic workers' national insurance is paid, because that is a big, big problem that we have with regards to national insurance. They don't pay your national insurance. They don't give you no pay slip. And when you go by the National Insurance Board, they say, how long you working? I work in 10 years. Bring something to show. You have to show evidence. You have nothing. Right? So what we encourage domestic and other workers too. Because mind you, domestic workers covered under the minimum wages order, and we have provisions such as sick leave, we have vacation leave, we have overtime pay, and things like that. So we have the same kind of provisions as other low-income workers who might work in a store, the catering industry, even the security guards who work so hard. So we up in line in a way, but the main thing is recognition for domestic as workers. And we not stopping until government amend the Industrial Relations Act to include domestic workers. They must be recognized as workers. So these provisions in the convention that I'm proud to say that I was part of, this makes decent work mean something for the living domestic workers, who often have no stipulated hours of work, as I said before, and always on call, especially where they are hired to provide services such as child care, care for the aged, the sick, or the disabled. But what was even more disappointing in that conference is to hear the contributions to the discussion from some of the social partners. For example, the employers. The employers, they didn't want that convention no way at all. You know, because they say it's not practical to implement laws for the domestic workers. They have special characteristics and all these big words. You know, but the thing is, domestic, they're doing work. And when the end of the day, they are very tired because they can't come home and do their own work, the whole thing full with wares, and they can't take care of the children. So the children now go out there and end up in all kind of different crime. You want to know why the crime situation so in the country? It's because we as low-income workers have to work 60 hours a week without getting paid for overtime. And our children, we work on Saturday, Monday to Saturday. Nobody to see about our children. So our children go on astray in the evening when they come from school. you know, and then who end up smoking, and from smoking he end up selling. That's right. And the pusherman are wrong, and you see in children, you leave school, you are nothing, you are no GCA, no C or whatever. And they call you, all right, come now. And you then start to sell. And that is a cycle that keeps going wrong and wrong. So what we are, and even with regards to these workers, you know, people say, she remain in domestic work for the rest of her life. Now tell me how you could move from that. When you work in all these hours, when you're going to go and take a course, when? On a Sunday? I can remember when last I hear or see on the papers that they're giving courses on a Sunday. So that domestic workers have to work all these long hours, you're not getting the proper pay and all these kind of things, and you can't really elevate yourself. Wanted pregnancies.